Hey y'all, it's Marcus. Toward the end of last year, I became aware of a prophet who was gaining a lot of popularity. After watching some of his ministry, I felt something was off with him. For one, he was very flashy and flamboyant. I also felt that he tried to portray an air of wisdom through his mannerisms, tone of voice, speaking cadence, etc. But what he was saying wasn't very profound, and at times he was even saying stuff that was questionable. It was a bit strange how his followers would address him and how sometimes he would refuse to continue teaching if he didn't get a certain number of likes on the live stream. His videos continued to pop up on my feed, but I dismissed them for a couple of months. I finally clicked on one of his suggested videos in January of this year because the title caught my attention. I was genuinely watching to see if I would get something out of it. I wasn't there to criticize or to be a skeptic. In the middle of the video, I casually closed my eyes and was surprised to see a vision. I was already familiar with the Peacock symbolism, and this vision seemed to confirm my initial thoughts and discernment about this prophet. In pop culture, there's a term called peacocking, which refers to when someone, usually a male, dresses eccentrically to draw attention to themselves, in the same way that a male peacock flashes his feathers to attract a mate. And as I said, this prophet in question is flashy. The word showmanship came to mind when I watched how he ministered. Who was he drawing attention to? Himself or to the Lord? But beyond the superficial symbolism of the peacock, there could be a deeper revelation to this. When I was generating this video's thumbnail, I was reminded of native Indian headdresses. And then my next thought was, I wonder if there's any religion who worships the peacock. I was surprised to find that there is a people whose chief divine being is named Tawusi Melek. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But this essentially translates to the peacock angel. For the sake of time and staying on track, I'm not going to go deeper into the belief system of these people, known as the Yazidi people. But if you're interested, Google will tell you everything you need to know. The thing I was intrigued to find was the story of their peacock angel strongly resembles that of Lucifer in the Bible. In fact, the Yazidi people are oppressed by Muslims who call them Satan worshippers for this reason. Could there be a deeper connection between this prophet in question and the peacock? Deeper than the flamboyance and potentially speaking to the spirit by which he operates? Now, I have a particular prophet in my life who I speak to on a personal level, and my prophet happens to be from the same general place on earth the questionable prophet is from. So I reached out to my prophet and I said, hey, do you know of prophet so-and-so? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, is he a true prophet of God or is he false? Because I'm kind of unsure right now. And he said, I can't answer that right now. Okay, that's already a red flag. I mean, if you believe someone is a true prophet of God, then you're simply going to say that. So to say you can't answer right now, and then I press a little further and I say, why can't you answer? And he said, it's deep. Okay, that's the second red flag. Again, you're not saying he's a true prophet of God, but like a true prophet, my prophet turned this into a teaching moment. And so he asked me, do you know how to tell when someone is a false prophet? And I told him what my ideas were on it. And he said, you're not necessarily wrong. But then he pointed out some things to me. And he points to the book of Revelation, specifically where it talks about these frog-like spirits. And he connects that to the plagues in Egypt. One of the plagues was where the land of Egypt was overrun by frogs. And he pointed out how the magicians of Pharaoh could do the same things that Moses could do with God until the frogs died. Once the frogs died, these magicians weren't replicating what Moses was doing anymore. And what my prophet told me was it's because their portal was cut off, their source was cut off. The frog represented the spirit by which they operated, the spirit that they worshiped. Again, pointing to the frog-like spirits that are specifically mentioned in the book of Revelation. And I said, that's interesting. This isn't something I've heard before. And I thought for a second, I said, but what about Elijah? Elijah going against the prophets of Baal. Like, what about that? He said, yeah, it happened with Elijah too. And sure enough, Elijah challenges the prophets of Baal and says, okay, we're going to sacrifice an animal, and whosoever God consumes the animal by fire, that is the true God. What is the animal that Elijah had the prophets of Baal sacrifice? A bull. And so what is, if you've seen any depictions of Baal, it is a bull. It resembles a bull. And so I'm like, man, this is interesting. I've never heard this before. So he was showing me the only way to show a false prophet is by cutting off their source or closing their portal, specifically, is what he said. So again, I asked, could there be a deeper connection to the peacock here, especially after me finding that there's a group of people who worship a peacock angel, and this peacock angel strongly represents Lucifer, or strongly resembles Lucifer, who was an angel himself. And a peacock, a very flashy, flamboyant, beautiful creature. And you read about Lucifer and how beautiful he was. There's a lot of connection here. Now, if you're wondering why I waited over half a year to share this, there are a few reasons besides me being in a transitional state since March. For one, I was being patient and wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. There were some good things that I had seen this prophet do, which is why I told my prophet I was kind of unsure. Secondly, to publicly call someone a false prophet is not something to take lightly. You better be sure of it. And thirdly, I was not looking to invite the attacks of witches and warlocks on my life right now. I got enough going on. However, after becoming more active on Facebook, I noticed multiple people calling this prophet out by name. And these people have followings themselves. Seeing I wasn't alone and my initial discernment being confirmed definitely was encouraging. Most recently, I saw Dr. Keenan Bridges post a video to Facebook. In the video, he was sharing a dream that he had about a particular prophet. And the dream revealed to him that this prophet was operating by witchcraft. And the way he described this prophet, I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same person, although he didn't mention a name. You're probably itching to know who I'm speaking of. And I'm going to echo what Dr. Bridges said in his video. You're focused on the lesser thing, the person, rather than the spirit. If you learn to discern the spirit, then you won't be deceived no matter who it's operating through. Just because someone says something prophetically that is true or accurate does not mean they are operating by the Holy Spirit. Remember the story of the girl who was following Paul around? That girl was telling the truth, but she was operating by an unclean spirit. Or what about Balaam in the Old Testament? Divination can give accurate info, but it's illegal. It's wicked. There's a YouTuber within the wealth transfer community. This particular YouTuber, I feel, has been influenced by the prophet in question. I watched this YouTuber post a video of them ministering at their church, and it looked like a copy and paste of what goes on at this other prophet's church. I've also seen some of the videos that this YouTuber has posted recently, and it seems like they're veering off the right path that they started on. This spirit is very seductive, but I encourage you to do your own research and, of course, to exercise discernment. Test the spirits. Ask the Holy Spirit to give you wisdom, discernment, and understanding. If you have time, check out the video on the screen. And as always, be blessed.